The world watched with a mixture of awe and apprehension as China unveiled its latest technological marvel, a deep-sea cable cutter capable of severing the critical arteries of the global internet. This device, sleek and formidable, represents a leap in underwater technology, showcasing China's ability to innovate in ways that were once thought impossible. This sophisticated piece of engineering is more than just a tool. It is a potent symbol of China's growing technological prowess and its ambition to project power far beyond its shores. The cable cutter, with its precision and power, stands as a testament to the nation's relentless pursuit of technological dominance, a clear message to the world that China is a force to be reckoned with in the deep-sea arena. The cutter's existence has sent ripples of concern through the international community, raising questions about its intended purpose and the potential consequences of its use. Experts and analysts are now debating the implications of this technology, pondering whether it will be used to safeguard China's own underwater infrastructure, or if it poses a threat to the global network of undersea cables that connect continents and facilitate international communication. Is this a defensive tool designed to protect China's own interests, or is it an offensive weapon that could disrupt the global order? The ambiguity surrounding its intended use has only heightened tensions, with military strategists and policymakers around the world scrambling to understand the full scope of its capabilities and the strategic intentions behind its deployment. The unveiling of this technology is a stark reminder that the battle for global dominance is no longer confined to land, air, and space. The ocean, with its vast and largely unexplored depths, has emerged as the new frontier in this ongoing struggle for supremacy. Nations are now investing heavily in underwater technology, recognizing that control over the seas could be a decisive factor in future conflicts. The depths of the ocean, once considered a remote and inaccessible frontier, have become the new battleground in the 21st century. With advancements in technology, what was once the domain of marine biologists and oceanographers is now a strategic arena where nations vie for control and influence. The deep-sea cable cutter is just one of many tools being developed to assert dominance in this underwater realm. As nations race to secure their interests in this underwater realm, the stakes couldn't be higher. The control of undersea cables, which carry the lifeblood of global communication and commerce, has become a critical aspect of national security. The ability to protect or sever these cables could determine the balance of power in the modern world. The world holds its breath, waiting to see how this new chapter in geopolitical competition will unfold. As the deep sea becomes the latest theater of strategic maneuvering, the actions taken by nations today will shape the future of global connectivity and security. The unveiling of China's deep-sea cable cutter is just the beginning of a new era in underwater technology and international relations. To understand the significance of China's deep-sea cable cutter, one must first grasp the crucial role that undersea cables play in our interconnected world. These cables are not just physical connections, they are the lifelines of our modern society. These fiber optic cables, crisscrossing the ocean floor like a vast nervous system, carry over 95% of international internet traffic. They are meticulously engineered to withstand the harsh conditions of the deep sea, ensuring that data flows uninterrupted across continents. They are the invisible backbone of the global economy, facilitating trillions of dollars in financial transactions, connecting businesses across continents, and enabling the seamless flow of information that has come to define the digital age. Without these cables, the global financial markets would come to a standstill, and international trade would be severely disrupted. From everyday communications like emails and video calls to complex financial transactions and military operations, our reliance on these cables is absolute. They support everything from social media interactions to critical national security operations, making them indispensable to both civilian and military infrastructures. Disrupting them, even temporarily, could have catastrophic consequences, plunging economies into chaos, and potentially sparking international conflict. The repair process is complex and time-consuming, often requiring specialized ships and equipment to restore connectivity. This vulnerability is not lost on world leaders who are increasingly aware of the need to protect this critical infrastructure. International cooperation and stringent security measures are essential to safeguard these vital arteries of global communication and commerce. The technical capabilities of China's new cable cutter are shrouded in secrecy, cloaked in a veil of mystery that has left many speculating about its true potential and purpose. But even a cursory understanding of its potential is enough to raise eyebrows in defense ministries and boardrooms around the world. The implications of such a device are far-reaching and complex, touching on issues of national security, global communications, and economic stability. Designed to operate at extreme depths, the cutter is believed to be capable of severing the thick armored cables that carry the world's internet traffic with surgical precision. These cables are the backbone of our digital age, transmitting everything from personal emails to financial transactions and military communications. This capability, coupled with the inherent difficulty of detecting and repairing underwater damage, gives China a powerful, albeit controversial, tool. The underwater environment is harsh and unforgiving, making any repair efforts time-consuming and costly. Some analysts argue that the cutter is primarily a defensive measure, allowing China to cut off the flow of information in the event of a conflict, essentially isolating its adversaries from the rest of the world. This would give China a significant strategic advantage, enabling it to control the narrative and maintain operational security. Others, however, see a more aggressive posture, suggesting that China could use the cutter to disrupt the global economy, cripple financial markets, or sow chaos and confusion among its rivals. The potential for economic warfare is immense, with the ability to destabilize entire regions and create widespread panic. The truth, as is often the case, likely lies somewhere in between. The dual-use nature of such technology means it can be wielded as both a shield and a sword, depending on the intentions of those who control it. As the world watches closely, the true impact of this development remains to be seen. The emergence of China's deep-sea cable cutter has exposed a critical vulnerability in the global internet infrastructure. For decades, these undersea cables have operated largely undisturbed, their importance often overlooked. Now, their vulnerability to sabotage or attack has been thrust into the spotlight, forcing nations to confront the potential consequences of a world suddenly cut off from the digital networks that bind it together. This newfound vulnerability is forcing a reassessment of global security priorities. No longer can the vastness of the ocean be seen as a guarantee of protection. The underwater realm, once a sanctuary for these critical cables, has become a potential battleground, demanding increased vigilance and investment in protection. Section 5. The view from Beijing, securing the future. China, for its part, maintains that its deep-sea cable cutter is a purely defensive tool, designed to ensure its own security in an increasingly uncertain world. Chinese officials point to the country's heavy reliance on undersea cables for its economic prosperity, and argue that the cutter is simply a means of deterring potential adversaries from exploiting this vulnerability. They also highlight the United States' own history of developing and deploying disruptive technologies, accusing Washington of hypocrisy and criticizing China's actions. The development of the cable cutter, they argue, is simply a natural response to the growing strategic competition between the two superpowers. Section 6. Washington's response, alarm bells and countermeasures. The unveiling of China's cable cutter has been met with alarm in Washington, where it is seen as the latest in a series of aggressive moves by Beijing to challenge the existing global order. U.S. defense officials have warned of the potential for the cutter to be used for offensive purposes, disrupting critical infrastructure and undermining U.S. interests around the world. In response, the U.S. is reportedly accelerating its own efforts to develop countermeasures, including advanced underwater surveillance systems, cable protection technologies, and even offensive capabilities of its own. The Pentagon has also stepped up its naval presence in key areas, seeking to deter any potential Chinese aggression. Section 7. Beyond the U.S. and China, a world on edge. The implications of China's deep-sea cable cutter extend far beyond the U.S.-China rivalry. Countries around the world, many of whom are heavily reliant on undersea cables for their own economic and security interests, are watching the situation closely, assessing the potential risks and adjusting their own strategies accordingly. Some nations are seeking to bolster their own defenses, investing in cable protection technologies and strengthening their maritime security capabilities. Others are calling for international dialogue and cooperation, urging the U.S. and China to exercise restraint and avoid actions that could escalate tensions or lead to unintended consequences. Section 8. the need for dialogue and restraint. The emergence of China's deep-sea cable cutter underscores the urgent need for international dialogue and cooperation in governing the use of disruptive technologies. The stakes are simply too high to allow for miscalculation or escalation in this critical domain. Both the US and China have a responsibility to engage in good faith discussions to establish clear rules of the road for the development and deployment of technologies that could threaten the stability of the global internet. Such discussions should aim to foster transparency, build confidence, and reduce the risk of misperception or accidental conflict. Section 9. Charting a course through murky waters. The world is entering uncharted waters as new technologies like China's deep-sea cable cutter blur the lines between offense and defense, raising profound questions about the future of warfare and the very nature of international security. As the underwater realm becomes increasingly contested, the need for clear thinking, strategic foresight, and a commitment to dialogue and cooperation has never been greater. The future stability of the global order may well depend on our ability to navigate these murky waters with wisdom and restraint. Only by working together can we hope to harness the power of these new technologies for good, while mitigating the risks they pose to our interconnected world. The challenges are significant, but the stakes are too high to fail.